you ahead to consider another very important question. If you had to use one word to describe your political environment, the one you live in at the moment, what would you use? Turbulent? Complicated? Tough? This week on Afternoons, we're asking what it takes to have tough conversations. And if there's one man who knows about handling heated political debate, it's the Speaker of the Australian House of Representatives. But when Milton Dick isn't wrangling politicians during question time, he's on tour on a mission to visit classrooms. Milton Dick, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, thanks for having me.
You've been visiting classrooms in every electorate to educate children about the political system. Boy, I bet they're lining up for those.
Well, they are, believe it or not. I'm not educating people on politics.
Okay.
That's a bit different. I'm educating people on civics and our system of government.
Okay.
So I am on a mission to improve what I call democracy literacy. We are the 10th oldest democracy in the world, and we're not a very old country. This year, 8th of May to be precise, we celebrated 125 years of parliamentary democracy. And later this year, we celebrate 125 years of our flag. So this is a big year for our democracy. And I'm on a mission to make sure that every year 6, every year 10, and really every citizen of Australia understands how lucky we are to live in this country, but also the responsibilities that come with living in a lucky country, and that is understanding our system of government.
So what level of understanding have you uncovered? Do we get it?
Well, 85% of Australians want more civics education.
Really?
Yep. The Democracy Matters stats, which came out about a month ago, shows that we understand that we need more civics education, and there is a thirst for that knowledge. But unfortunately, the data from Year 10, there's about 1 in 3 Year 10 students understand government. It's better at Year 6, but 2/3 of 15-year-olds don't understand how our laws are made. So I'm on a mission to change that. And I think by giving kids information, particularly students that maybe don't have that experience of going to Canberra. We have 100,000 kids who visit Canberra each year, but 1 million who don't. So I asked the question, what are those kids getting? So we've written a new program called Parliament in Schools, and kids get to understand.
Okay, how is this achieved? What do you do? Give me an example of a class with Sir. Sir, how's it work?
I've visited now 202 schools across Australia, including the 200th with Her Excellency the Governor General, her primary school. And it's a workshop where kids get to understand how laws are made. The hot topic in the law that we passed is whether pineapple should be on pizza.
Okay.
Right? So it's in Queensland, it's a little
obviously
bit different.
They belong on pizzas, obviously.
But kids also need to understand the 2 chambers of parliament, different levels of government, local, state and federal, the role of the speaker, the role of ministers, the role of the opposition, of holding a government to account. What a crossbench is. Why are major parties the parties of government? Why are minor parties part of our system? All of those things. So every classroom that I visit gets to understand the basics. Then students also like to debate topics around whether homework should be banned. All sorts of topics are on the table. But it is really a plan of mine to lift democracy literacy and give kids the basics so that they can make informed decisions when they become adults.
When they do. And I'm just thinking about the conversation we had with Madonna King earlier about the NAPLAN results out today concerning results for Queensland, a decline in reading. And Madonna's new book is about screen time, and it's about talking through some of those challenges that you might face as a parent, getting your kid off the screen, away from concerning influences, etc. And Madonna was making the point that if we are seeing maybe a misuse of screens, it might be also because children are observing parents not modelling effective management of screen time. If there's a lack of comprehension amongst school children today, so far as how our system of government works, does that reflect a lack of comprehension at home among families? Milton Dick?
I think it's a bit of both. I think unless we're teaching civics education in every classroom in every state and territory, it's done on an ad hoc basis. So I'm on a mission to have a standardised curriculum. But we also have to take responsibility in our own lives, in our own communities. The NAPLAN results have shown that when we talk about civics education, we're the lowest they've been since testing began in 2004. So this is a real issue. But I do think teachers have a critical role to play. And then in the wider community, I think people who become citizens, people who are looking to become citizens, we've got to have a broader conversation about deeper engagement about civics knowledge.
More people didn't vote in the last federal election than the last federal election. Not by a major amount, but there were more Australians who just didn't vote in the last federal poll. Now, does that indicate that people are just totally opting out? There are lots of reasons why people won't vote, obviously. Sick on the day, couldn't get there, and there are reasonable reasons and so on. But then there are those people who are just, and I see it and we hear it on this radio station all the time, I'm just not interested. All they do is yell at each other. There's this atmosphere of discontent, which might then also lead to disrespectful conversations because people are so jack of it, quite frankly.
I think that's right, and Australia is not immune to this. This is happening around the world. We're seeing the rise of populism on the extremes, all of those things, social media. But I am an optimist, and I really do believe, the conversations I've had, and I've visited schools with kids as few as 2 students. I've visited remote and far Western Australian schools off the coast of Tasmania. Every school and every teacher and every parent that I speak to have an opinion. We've got to, as the political class, we the people who have the privilege of representing communities, need to, and that's what I strive to do as the Speaker, is to try and show respect in the Parliament. We have to show respect towards each other. And you're right, Kat, how the language we use does matter. But we have some of the highest voting rates of any country in the world. And that is primarily because of our compulsory voting, but also our compulsory preferential voting. So the guardrails are there for a good system of democracy, including the Australian Electoral Commission, which is the envy of the world.
On 612 ABC Brisbane, ABC Queensland, my name is Kat Vinnie. This afternoon you are joined by Milton Dick, Speaker of the House of Representatives and the member for Oxley, talking about how we can facilitate not only healthy debate amongst students who are learning about civics education, that's the mission that you're on, to get civics education back on the agenda, make it sexy again, if it ever was sexy in the first place. I'm sure you think it's always been a very attractive thing, Milton Dick, but to also foster better engagement. Yesterday on the afternoon's program, we were joined by political journalist Amy Ramikis. She was talking about her new book. It's called Screw Nice. She is not convinced civil debate is always a good thing to strive for. This is what she had to say.
When we say civility, we often mean not talking about the thing that needs talking about, particularly in politics. So you can have someone like Donald Trump say that they're a nice person. Donald Trump is the arbiter of nice. He tells everyone how nice he is. He berates, the Ukrainian prime minister for not being grateful enough while in the White House asking for the sovereignty of his nation. And at the same time, we don't actually treat what Donald Trump is doing in the context that it deserves, which is increasing authoritarianism, increasing bullyism. The way that he treats allied countries, including Australia, is unhinged. We don't talk about it in those terms because that's not nice.
What do you think, Milton Dick?
Well, I think the words that we matter do, of course, have an impact. And in the Parliament of Australia, I'll give you an example. When people say, you're the most stupid person that's ever been in this room, I always get them to rephrase it. Might be the most stupid idea that's ever been there. It might be the most ridiculous policy that Australia's ever seen. But how we treat each other, and that's why we use titles about each other. We don't just say, hey, you. We say, Leader of the Opposition or Prime Minister. And I think we have a role to play, obviously, to demonstrate that. But I think in our day-to-day lives and how we treat each other at the shops, how we treat each other in the classroom, all of those things matter. We are living in such unusual times at the moment, but we live in the best of times as well. Social media brings us together, but also divides us as well. I just want to find a middle ground where we can work together and respect one another. And one of the things that I'm most proud about is in a couple of weeks, we're going to have the first National Youth Parliament for Australia. We've never had one before.
Really? I know we have a state youth parliament, but never a national one.
Yeah, this was a plan of mine that when I became Speaker, I wanted to see kids from all different backgrounds, from every corner of Australia, they'll be coming to Canberra for a week to take over the place. They will be deciding the issues and the topics, and they will giving voices to their community. So my electorate, there's a youth member for Oxley. We've obviously done a partnership with the Y, and there are delivery partners. But that's just one element of giving kids the opportunity. The other thing I'd like to see is probably before I finish as my term as Speaker is a civics convention, because there are so many people teaching about democracy, the good work that's happening across foundations, institutions. I'd like to see them all come together and talk about this and take a temperature check so that if there are improvements we can make, we do it together as a society.
To what extent might the strong emotion that people feel when they think about politics in Australia be wrapped up in a sense of powerlessness that people also feel? And could that in some way come from a lack of comprehension about the power they actually do have?
Yeah.
A lack of comprehension of the system that they are a member of, simply by virtue of the fact that they are an Australian and can participate in our democracy, Milton Dick. Is that the essence of what you're trying to achieve, an empowerment exercise?
Essentially, and when people go and make decisions, I don't care who they vote for. I want them to care about voting for an issue or a person. But that's why this is so important, teaching people about their voice and how it is an important thing. The issue of petitions, about lobbying, about influencing, about having on the radio, about in the media, on social media, having the people understand their voice matters, but also how powerful it is through the various arms, not just watching politicians on television, engaging with them. You know, we're one of the few countries in the world where you can walk down the street and people came up to me, the coffee shop in Ipswich today, and said, "Oh, while I've got you, I want to talk to you." Now, that doesn't happen in every country. And I talk to a lot of leaders around the world, and they're just, when I set up a little table at Forest Lake and give out shopping bags or line up with a clipboard, some of my colleagues go, "Well, what do you mean? Where are your motorcades? Where are all the army?" And I say, no. We engage like that in Australia. That's a really good thing. And I think we should have more of that. The conversation should be respectful, obviously, but people need to understand the different levels of government. As you know, Kat, I was a Brisbane City Councillor for a long time. People still think I'm the local councillor, which is not a bad thing. But once a councillor, always a councillor, I guess. But I want to make sure that people know that their voice matters, and the best way to do that is by teaching about the system of government we have.
Well, you've convinced Michael. He reckons civics education should be readily on offer outside of schools as well. I know personally far too many people who still don't understand how our democracy works. They're in their 20s, 30s, 40s and older. And I just wanted to bring you the thoughts of Brian at Carindale. Hello, Brian.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you. We're about to wrap up with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Milton Dick, also member for Oxley. You have an observation about the way that our Speaker manages to keep a hold of the room, I think, Brian?
Yeah, I've watched Question Time for a long time, and many years ago I remember driving my daughter from Melbourne, deliberately going to Canberra to watch Question Time, and it was disgraceful behaviour. And anyway, so I just want to affirm Milton Dick. I just love the way that he keeps those naughty boys and girls in line. You know, he gives them a couple of warnings and then they're out. But it's just that he raises the bar. And, you know, for a person watching from the distance, I'm very gratified, and I think he's doing a great job, and may he continue with confidence. And also, he's very informed also. He's not just, a knee-jerk reaction. He's informed as regards standing orders, but he's able to pick up fantastic stuff. May he continue. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great tick of approval from a listener, but I'm very privileged to have this role, and no matter what I do, I say this to kids in classrooms all the time, and I'll finish on this point. No matter what job I have in my life, and I'll do other things after I leave public life, this will be the best job I ever have, because I get to talk about democracy and I get to teach democracy, and I really think I found my why.
The very Honourable Milton Dick, Speaker of the House of Representatives and member for Oxley, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. On 612 ABC Brisbane, I'm Kat.